Hello, what's going on YouTube? This is a Jamil or J Money, either or, but I am bringing you guys a video that's a little bit controversial simply because, you know, this is around the moment where everybody is still pretty excited about all the announcements of all the quote-unquote amazing reprints. There are some pretty good reprints, and I'm not saying that a lot of these reprints are really are deserving. Like, for instance, Ash Blossom, which is the topic of the day, what we're going to talk about. But it's just, there's something that's been on my mind, and it's been a repetitive pattern for a while. Before I get into that, I want to let you guys know that I did recently get a job again, finally. So now I'm able to rack up some money and maybe start traveling to events. I'm about 90% sure I am going to the YCS in Utah in mid-March, so look out for that. But anyway, we're going to talk about Ash Blossom for a little bit because this seems to be the topic on a lot of people's minds for the past day and a half, and why everybody's so excited about Ash Blossom. And you know, I have my Ash Blossoms, and I spent $80 a piece on them 3 months ago. I still don't regret it, really. I got my use out of them while I had them. I still don't plan to sell them. I'm a tad bit of a ready whore, but that's besides the point. Yesterday we got an announcement that Ash Blossom is getting a reprint in the Legendary Collection Kaiba, and you know, on paper that is a very big deal. It's a pretty big deal because the card was ridiculously expensive. It was like $75 just earlier yesterday. So, you know, the casual players and the budget players, they get to save a pretty penny on some nice little reprints, you know. And I just can't help but to laugh and just think, you know, it's great that they're doing this right when Designated from the Grave is coming out. So it's just like, you know, but the damage has already been done, and Ash is already waiting in play. So, you know, I don't really care. And why is that, do you say? Well, I firmly believe, and the reason why Ash Blossom is out of favor is Ash Blossom is starting to become one of the most underused, the most worst hand traps in the game, and that sounds asinine, simply for the fact that a lot of people are still main decking it, but to no avail, to little success, is what Ash Blossom is. The amount of impact and the amount of power that Ash Blossom originally had, and then has had all through Spiral format, and the amount of power it lacks with the new ban list. And what do I mean by this? Well, Ash Blossom is generally a hand trap that, against the right decks, and by the right decks I mean most rogue decks, is incredibly strong against. But a lot of these meta decks, there are just too many follow-up plays. Ash doesn't really offer nearly as much value as it used to. I mean, let's take a look at all the meta decks. Well, against Pendulums, Electromite can completely bypass Ash Blossom in every single way, except for the draw effect. But, you know, really, if you're going to Ash a draw, then, you know, that lets you know just how weak it is against a Pendulum matchup. You know, I mean, you're going to Ash, like, what, an Astrograph Sorcerer? I mean, sure, you can Ash the Astrograph and it won't hit the field, but there's always another opportunity for a card to get blown up, since people summon multiple Electromites a turn. And so Astrograph will still have a chance to trigger. It'll still summon, it'll still search you a card, and you just negged one out of your hand for no reason. Considering Astrograph is not once per turn, and it is not a hard once per turn by any means. You know, against True Dracos, you would argue that it's actually great against True Dracos because it's great against every single card in their deck. And by every single card, I mean every single spell card. And although that may be true, the problem is they run entirely too many, you know, search cards and draw cards. So it's very easy to bait an Ash Blossom when we have Terraforming at 3, Dragonic Diagram at 3, True Draco Heritage at 3, and Card of Demise at 3, which these are the cards you might want to hit with Ash Blossom, but the problem is, the deck just has way too much draw power and search power, not to mention a Pot of Desires, and with the pure builds, they can play Pot of Duality to get to these cards quicker simply because they don't special summon. And so Ash Blossom is also, even though it's technically strong against the deck, it's actually in actual play weak against the deck because they just have way too much searches and way too much draws, to the point to where one Ash Blossom just can't keep up with all of that. Against Trickstars, it is okay against. It is actually, like, not bad, but it's still not great because you're not going to Ash a Light Stage simply because Terraforming is a card that's at 3. You're generally going to Ash a Candina, and yeah, you may stop them from searching a Licorice or a Reincarnation, but those cards are also at 3, and chances are they're probably in the hand. And what's not to say that that you stopped me from searching a Reincarnation, but Candina's bounced for Licorice, so I have another shot next turn. I have a set Scapegoat. I still have plays, and that is and I could still have a Droll in hand to stop you from just searching and just getting to your pieces all together. You know what? You're gonna Ash a Union Hanger or Ash a Terraforming, or no? Yeah, you're gonna Ash a Union Hanger or Ash a Dragon's Ravine. You Ash my Union Hanger search. That's fine. I got a piece in hand ready for you. I got access to Deshudo still, so I can still make my Deco Talker and my Dragon Buster. You know, it's decks like these, like against Lightsworn especially. What are you gonna? I can just easily throw a Grass out there. I would effortlessly just throw a Grass out there. You Ash it, that's fine. I got everything else in my hand. I got Brilliant Fusion, I got Recharge, I got Shiranui Solitaire, I have a Planet Scorpio, and all that stuff. Like, that deck has just way too many power cards for one Ash to really put a huge dent against. And if you're gonna think about what, dropping Ash against Invoked or Zephyrs, I mean, you better hope they don't have a Ciphering Gear Gamma in their hand. Not saying that Gamma isn't live against some Ogre, Droll, or Effect Veiler as well, but the problem, you know, so it's effective against all those other hand traps, but Ash Blossom, it will take the hit more times than not, simply for the fact that Zephyrs want to search their Divine Strikes, they want to search their Oracle Zephyrs, and Invokes want to search their Alistairs with the Field Spell. And, you know, the new deck, you know, the deck that won the YCS World Chalice, you know, 6 months ago, Ash Blossom would have been great against, but now it's just like every single spell card that's not our one copy of Unexpected Die is a power spell. Every last spell. So it's like you have to pick your poison of which spell you want to stop and fall victim to the other spell. I mean, you have people that will sit here and Ash Blossom a Lee, you know, because more times than not you may not draw into Legacy, but you know, Ash Blossoming a Lee is just okay. I have Transmodify in hand, so good, extend the hand for a good game. You know, even in a deck against Burning Abyss, which, you know, there's only a few cards that Ash is live against and they're good, but the deck gets such easy access to them. It's like the only cards it's good against really is Graph and Skarm. And Skarm is a card that's at 3 that you can easily dig out. Like, you can Ash a Graph since it's the one of, but then that leaves you open to a Skarm Search or a Beatrice Foolish, and or you can sit here and you can Ash a Graph, but that doesn't stop, you know, you still got cards like Rhino or Rush Rhino at 3 copies. And it's just, Ash Blossom is just so bad right now. It's like one of the worst 2 hand traps. Like, against all these decks, like, they all search and draw multiple times a turn. I'm surprised that Droll isn't seeing more main deck play over Ash Blossom right now. I'm really surprised, especially since True Draco is rising in popularity. Once they search the diagram off that terraforming, you don't have to worry about any heritage, no demise, no nothing. You don't have to worry about that stuff unless they have the Amano Iwado, then that's a problem. But they're gonna, even if it was a Droll or an Ash, they're going to start the turn off with that anyway. So at the end of the day, that doesn't matter. Against Trickstars, if they terraforming into a light stage or they light stage into a Candina, you drop Droll, they don't get the last piece they need. You know, Drolling after a terraforming search for a Union Hanger, yeah, you'll stop the search of the piece right then and there. And even if they hard draw the Union Hanger and they search and you Droll, they can't get the last piece out of the deck with Buster Drake simply because you can no longer search. And don't even get me started on any Light Sworn variant based decks that do a ton of drawing and a ton of searching. You know, Droll just provides you so much value in all the right spots. Even against a deck like World Chalice, Droll is actually somewhat effective against. And Ghost Ogre, although it doesn't negate any effects, it does serve the purpose of getting cards like Diagram off the field. Especially since we know True Dracos will generally have access to 2 diagrams on the first turn. Let the first one go and either shut down the second one or shut down the Heritage. And not only are you still accomplishing the same thing as you would accomplish with Ash Blossom, but the card gets off the field. You know, the same thing with decks like ABCs and all that stuff. Ogre can shut down Electromite where Ash can't. Ogre can get the arrows off the board and everything. Against Buster, if they make the Buster and discard the Banish and you Ogre, you get the monster off the board. Something Ash can't even touch. Ogre can just touch a lot of things on board that Ash can't touch. That is actual legitimate threats on the field. You know, Ogreing the right cards in other rogue decks are also equally as effective as that said Ash Blossom, except Ogre gets cards off the field and offers more value than Ash Blossom at this current point. Even a hand trap such as Effect Veiler is starting to become a little bit better than an Ash Blossom right now. Case in point, well, let's take a look. If I decide to Ash Blossom, let's say, a Ningirsu draw effect or a Saryuja or Skulldeep draw effect, well, I still have, you know, Ningirsu's Scrap Dragon effect to where I can just send 2 cards to the graveyard because Ash only negates that one effect. It doesn't negate all of its effects. Same thing with Saryuja. I may have ashed, you know, my Saryuja draw effect may have gotten ashed, but I can still special summon a monster from my hand or some things like that, you know. It's the same thing with Union Hanger. Yeah, you ask to search, but I still get the equip from the deck. I still get any card that has multiple different effects in its card text is also why Veiler would actually reign supreme, because not only that, but Ash Blossom, you know, against a deck like World Chalice isn't very effective against, even though it's really strong. Again, the deck is so good at chain blocking to where you can just make all the good effects Chain Link 1 to where you have 0 opportunity to drop an Ash Blossom against, because it has to respond directly to whatever is the last in the chain link versus Effect Veiler. It doesn't matter what you're chain blocking with, simply for the fact that it targets. You can make Saryuja Chain Link 1, Legacy Chain Link 2, and an Imduk Chain Link 3, and you can go, okay, Chain Link 4, Veiler, target the Saryuja, I don't give a fuck about your chain blocks. Your monster is still negated, even though you try to mask all the good effects by the chain link, and you don't get to special summon a monster. So anything with multiple effects on the card text, they're all just shut down for the whole turn. And in cases like that, Veiler also is just more favorable, and that's the problem I have with Ash Blossom, is the fact that they decided to reprint it when it's lost most of its power. And then to top it all off, Designator from the Grave is going to be coming out, I think, either the same week or the week after the Legendary Collection Kaiba. So it's just like, yeah, they picked the right time, and people are hyped about the Ash Blossom, but they're going to find out really quickly that all these decks that are in contention, it's not like last format. This format, every single competitive deck just has so many follow-up plays to where the Ash Blossom just gets severely outpaced, and all these other hand traps in this format hold some advantages that Ash Blossom just no longer has the hold as the top dog in terms of hand traps. I actually think it's one of the worst. amongst these 4 hand traps right here, I rank Ash Blossom down to the number 4 simply because all those other positive attributes that I listed about the other hand traps, we need more. We need more of the other attributes of no longer being able to do any more drawing and searching for the rest of the turn. We need cards that can shut down all the effects of cards that have multiple different effects on its card text, and we need cards like Ogre to just get monsters and face-up cards off the field, you know, that, and it's only going to get worse because when the Dark Structure deck comes out and you got Lilith over here, you're not searching any cards, you're setting cards, so Ash Blossom completely bypasses that as well, versus Effect Veiler, you know, Veiler would just shut it down. Again, all these other attributes that Ash doesn't have that lies in the other hand traps are more important right now in this particular format. So that is my beef with Ash Blossom. That's why it is, in my opinion, one of the worst hand traps in this game. And now I know a lot of people are still going to disagree, and I know a lot of people are going to probably just immediately smash dislike all over the video. But it's something that's been on my mind simply for the fact that all these other hand traps just seem better right now. They really do. Like, half the decks I play don't even main or side Ash Blossom. Half of them have them in the side deck. The only reason I side them in is simply for the fact that, oh, if my opponent just so happens to, you know, have that Joel and Lock combo on their second reincarnation, okay, I haven't, you know, I don't just lose my whole hand. That's really it. Like, there's no other circumstance or no other deck I really see myself putting Ash Blossom in. And I know this is upsetting to a lot of people because they, you know, they're still excited about Ash Blossom finally getting a reprint and not having to drop $75 on it. But honestly, if I didn't even have Ash Blossoms, I wouldn't even pick them up. Even with the Legendary Collection Kaiba coming out, like, you know, would I single-handedly hunt them down and pay 10, like 15, even $20 a piece for them? In this format, no, because it's the worst hand trap. This format, they picked the, I feel like Konami picked the right time to print Ash Blossom when it isn't as powerful and isn't as effective as the other hand traps. You know, the other hand traps are currently just outshining Ash Blossom. People are just, you know, too distracted and too charmed by Ash Blossom's expensive price, or former expensive price, and how many cards it can stop versus, you know, actual functionality in this format, in this very, very diverse format. And that is my beef with this card. And, you know, until people can, you know, chill down with their high and see that, I don't think it's going anywhere anytime soon. So let me know what you guys think. Do you guys disagree? And I know some of you are going to disagree, so if you disagree, feel free to leave, you know, an actual legitimate, you know, reason why you disagree in the comments below. And I'm talking about, you know, versus these meta decks, these competitive decks that are actually topping events. Because against Rogue deck, the Ash Blossom is amazing. Again, Ash Blossom is probably the best hand trap against Rogue decks, but against current meta decks, it's really lackluster. It's really lackluster, and that's my beef with this card. So thank you guys very much for watching this. This is J Money, and I'm signing out.